I leave you here and journey on, and if I never more return, farewell.
Martin Delaney finally gave up on America.
Admitted to Harvard Medical School with letters of support from 17 doctors, Delaney took one full term of lectures, then told to leave. 15 sons of wealthy families who paid the salaries of the faculty wrote that they would make other arrangements if that wasn't done, and the faculty caved.
His expulsion, just because of skin color, convinced him that the power of reason and merit alone did not in fact determine the country's esteemed leaders. So, scraping together just a few $100s, he rented a crew and ship to go back to Africa, where his grandfather Shango had returned generations before.
I sailed from New York May 24th, 1859, in the fine bark Mendy with Captain McIntyre, vessel and cargo owned by Johnson, Turpin, and Dunbar, 3 enterprising colored gentlemen of Monrovia, Liberia, all formerly of New York City.
His critics, including Frederick Douglass, were legion. You must stay here and fight for freedom, they told him.
Farewell to the land of the bloodhound and chain. My path is away over the fetterless main. Martin had 46 days in the mid-Atlantic to penetrate his personal, distant horizons from his own 46 years of non-stop living. Beginning that one day on a street in Charlestown, Virginia, when his mother Patty accepted from a big-hearted traveling peddler the key that would unlock everything for the Delaneys, the New York Primer for Spelling and Reading. Martin listened intently as his 4 older brothers and sisters lay out the secret to how to arrange a word and the sound you make with each word, and caring not a fig that it was all illegal if you were darker skinned. They didn't care. It was fun, and it was power. Patty packed all they could into a wagon, saying it was a trip to kin in Martinsburg, but which continued on north across the ferry at Williamsport, Maryland, and continuing further north into Pennsylvania, a free state, and Chambersburg, the promised land of knowledge that replaced the hell of knowledge. From that day forth, Martin read, learned, grew, acted. The longer his legs, the vaster he could stride the face of the globe. The longer his arms, the furthest star he could hold in his hand, sometimes scorched and sometimes illumined. Until a day in 1875, he reached for a star within another universe of stars fiery anger blasted back, and Martin fell back forevermore into our everyday with just a sun and a moon. His hope wanted something perfect that humanity, the part he met, scorned. Perceived in the light of the next day the enormity of the events. I must confess that I felt this morning like a man wandering in a maze. So it seemed that the sudden gust of emotion, excited by the lowering of our starry flag, had swept away the mists of speculation and revealed in its depth and breadth the abyss of degradation opened by secession. Yesterday, I was a citizen of the great American Republic. My country spanned a continent. Her northern border neared the frigid zone, while her southern limit touched the tropics. Her eastern and western shores were washed by the two great oceans of the globe. Her commerce covering the most remote seas, her flag honored in every land. The strongest nation acknowledged her power, and the most enlightened honored her attainments in art, science, and literature. Her political system, the cherished ideal towards whose realization the noblest aspirations and efforts of mankind have been directed for ages. The great experiment which the pure and wise of all nations are watching with trembling solicitude and imperishable hope. It was something that belonged to such a nationality. This was yesterday. Today, what am I? A citizen of Virginia. Virginia, a petty commonwealth with scarcely 1 million white inhabitants. What could she ever hope to be but a worthless fragment of the broken vase, a fallen and splintered column of the once glorious temple? But I will not dwell longer on the humiliating contrast. Come, harness up the buggy and let us go out of this, or I shall suffocate.
In fact, Scott Fitzgerald, amidst his fame in later years, wrote his daughter Scotty as she was about to study at Vassar College. It isn't something easy to get started on by yourself with writing, you know. You need, at the beginning, some enthusiast who also knows his way around. John Peel Bishop performed that office for me at Princeton. I had always dabbled in verse, but he made me see, in the course of a couple of months, the difference between poetry and non-poetry. Bishop also taught Fitzgerald a disdain for some of the English professors at Princeton. So Fitzgerald would recall of these days, my own happiness in the past often approached such an ecstasy that I could not share it even with the persons dearest to me, but had to walk it away in quiet streets and lanes. And he would add, I got in the last 2 years at Princeton my passionate love for poetry and historical perspective and ideas in general that carried me full swing into my career.